Hey, it's Jacqueline from the CTS Sports Room, coming to you from my car. Because it's Christmas time, and my house is full of people, and I told them I was going grocery shopping, but really, I just needed a break. So I downloaded this new app that we just partnered with. It's Superdraft Pro. It is the future of fantasy sports. And you can play for cash, prizes, and experiences that money can't buy. Like the peace and quiet I'm getting right now. You can play for free, or you can get their non-gambling subscription. Either way, you can still win cash and prizes. If you want more information, my friend Kyle Murray is going to tell you about it.
It's not easy being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
Superdraft Pro and Caesars Entertainment are bringing you the future of fantasy sports. So, if you want to play like a champion or need a break from the family, download Superdraft Pro today. Play like a champion. Information will be in the link below.
Everyone, it is Sunday.
Woo!
Yeah, and that means it's time for episode 2 of Sunday Night Scoreboard. My name is Tyler Shibish. I'm joined by my esteemed co-host. Co-host, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I am Joe Will.
I'm Clack.
Yeah, welcome. And for the first time, we're partnered with Super Draft Pro, so that's pretty exciting. Nice of Kyler Murray to stop by in the commercial.
Dude, I got so excited just watching that. Like, the fact that we already have a sponsorship and we've just started doing this is huge, and I'm just excited to see what else is going to happen. I mean, this isn't even the new year yet, and we're already making some power moves.
Yep.
So, one second. So, there's not as much non-game stuff that happened this week. I remember last week was pretty eventful with Urban Meyer getting fired and a bunch of other stuff happened. But one thing I did want to bring up is Antonio Brown, right? They were working to bring him back finally. He had got a couple game suspension for faking a card for a certain disease, which will not be named on YouTube. Sorry, we can't.
We made that mistake last week.
That. Yeah, we did make that mistake last week. Now we know. But my question is, how much dumb stuff can this man do and keep getting away with it, right? This is his 4th chance now?
Can I ask another question? Can I add a question to that? Or can I add something to that? I wonder, can someone explain how, I'm all for the suspension of Antonio Brown. I think that the NFL did the right thing. How does he get suspended? Aaron Rodgers is basically the same thing, and there was no punishment, which that's kind of something we're going to get into later today about the Packers. But how does he get away? How does Aaron Rodgers get away with it, but nobody else does? Somebody make that make sense.
Yeah, so I think that in Aaron Rodgers' case, he never, to the NFL, claimed to be vaccinated, right? It was just he claimed in public. Whereas Antonio Brown was trying to circumvent procedures by actually using a fake vaccination card. And I think that that's the biggest difference is that Aaron Rodgers just did it in public, but behind closed doors, everyone knew. And that's kind of what they said, after he got in trouble, right? It was whoa, everyone knew, right? But
also Antonio Brown has had a lot more screw ups recently than Aaron Rodgers has. So as much as, you hate to see it. It's kind of one of those things where Antonio Brown, his name has been absolutely tarnished the last really half year. And Aaron Rodgers, this is kind of aside from the contract issues in the offseason, this is the only time we've really seen him like in the spotlight for something bad. You know, he kind of sticks to himself for the most part. He's not a huge media guy.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, real quick. I believe you have a certain banner that you have been waving around, and it might be pretty fitting for this comment. Roll Tide, new guys. There we go. Yeah. I don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers, like, the biggest public thing about his negative image, or like the only negative image he really had publicly, was like a bunch of personal stuff, right? Like, he had never done anything like bad or against NFL rules. And as much as I love to hate on him because, you know, proud Vikings fan. He's a really good player, and he seems like a pretty good guy. I mean, besides this whole weird situation, but I don't know. It's just, I don't understand. We say it all the time, right? But this just goes to show how being a really good football player, you get a bunch of second chances that other people wouldn't get. Like, could you imagine if Antonio Brown was like, there was a couple other people that got in trouble as well, and I have not heard their names since because they were like a bunch of practice squad players. So, and then the other thing I wanted to bring up that's not really like directly game related, it's not like on the scoreboard. It obviously had a huge impact on the scoreboard, but is this the most third string quarterbacks we've seen play in a week ever? Right? Like Josh
It has
Johnson.
to be. It has to be.
I would like to point out the Saints did sign Blake Bortles, so I don't know how that's going to go.
They said Ian Book was the starter.
He's starting. Buck is starting.
But obviously that's Monday night's game, right? So
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Blake Bortles was also on the Packers earlier this year when Aaron Rodgers was out. So I guess that's just his new thing, is he like signs with the team that's on their fifth string quarterback. But yeah, so we have Josh Johnson for the Ravens, who actually played pretty admirably today, I will say. He didn't obviously they lost by 20, but their defense gave up 525 yards to Joe Burrow. And he had 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's about all you can ask a third string QB to do. Ian Book starting Monday. Jake Fromm started today for the Giants, which that's how I learned he was on the Giants last week, was when they're like, oh, Jake Fromm's starting. It's like, I didn't even know.
You're forgetting Garrett Gilbert starting for Washington.
Oh, really? I saw that.
When they played against Philly on what was it, Monday night? He was their starter, or Tuesday, I guess, because of the issues.
See, that's my I was thinking of this week because I know the football team's playing tonight as well, so I wasn't even thinking about Garrett Gilbert, but he also played like okay. He didn't play great, but I don't know. So the first game that I wanted to talk about with you guys was the Monday night game, so it was the 49ers versus the Titans. 49ers lost 17-20. But man, Deebo Samuel is so much fun to watch. Like, this guy's a wide receiver, right? He's number 3 or 4 in the league in receiving yards. And then like all their running backs get hurt, and then they just move him to running back. And then he's one of the best running backs in the league, like over that time period. So
I'm sure that I think I've already told both of you this, that in fantasy football this year, I traded Deebo Samuel for the Steelers defense. Not my brightest idea. I'll openly admit that. But I'm in the championship game right now. Don't ask me how I've gotten there without McCaffrey. But yeah, like you talked about, Deebo is exciting to watch. I've never, not in recent years, really seen a team use their star receiver as like a running back too, which is cool because he's so fast and has like a burst. And they're a team that just doesn't really have one concrete running back. They've got, Jeff Wilson, and it just seems like they have a bunch of Elijah Mitchell. Like, they don't have one guy, so it's fun for them to bring Deebo in, and he's got like, I think not as many rushing touchdowns as receiving touchdowns, but he's got a good majority of his touchdowns or running touchdowns. So the 49ers are, I think, overall just kind of a fun team to watch. Interesting with their quarterback situation because Jimmy G hasn't played that well, and I do think that after this year they'll move on to him and go with Trey Lance, who they took this year in the draft. But they're a very physical team. and they're just kind of scratching and clawing their way into the playoffs right now, and it's an uphill battle for them after losing to the Titans. But if anybody can do it, I think it's them.
Well, my question is like, what's happened to the 40? Where's the fall off between that team that could have, would have, should have won a Super Bowl and now like they've really kind of fallen off, and their division is not even that strong. Honestly, I don't get what the fall off for them is. Like, why do y'all think they've fallen off so hard?
It 100% reminds me of the Jared Goff Rams, right? A quarterback that's kind of overperformed for how good they actually are, getting carried by like a really good defense and a bunch of creative play calls. But then once the creative play calls dry up, once you kind of get figured out, after like Bill Belichick kind of figured out the Rams in the Super Bowl. And then after that, they weren't as effective on offense. Like they were still a good team, but they didn't make it back to the Super Bowl after that. Kind of same with the 49ers. Like Shanahan's, it was really cute when the first year he had like 4 running backs all sharing carries and stuff like that. But now that the defense isn't like a top defense in the league, like they're still good, don't get me wrong, but they're not the best defense in the league. It's kind of, you make Jimmy Garoppolo beat you, you make Jared Goff beat you, and most of the time they won't. It's really funny I say that having lost to Jared Goff this year.
Yeah, I was just about to say, wait, pause.
We're not a good team, though.
You gave them their first win of the year.
But
how generous of you.
We weren't their best win, though. Their best win was against the Cardinals.
Fair enough.
But I guess that's just what I think. Is like they've kind of been figured out a little bit, and Jimmy G is not good enough to make up for the deficiencies. I don't know. What about you, Clack? You were asking that question. What do you think about? Like, why do you think they?
I think Kyle Shanahan's a great offensive coach, but I think his scheme is beginning to figure out. Kind of like the Patriots slowly figured him out in the Super Bowl and stopped them, and they won. Same with Andy Reid, and there's the Super Bowl. It's like he's easy to figure out. He's very predictable, and I think we talked last week, and you said we were talking about our coaches on the hot seat or who gets fired, and I think he's really on the hot seat. I just think he's underperformed the last couple of years since the Super Bowl year. They really underperformed. I don't know if it's Jimmy G. I don't know, exactly what it is, but I don't get why you I don't get why you get a top 5. What was there? Weren't they like a top 5 pick for Trey Lance?
I think they were 3. I think Trey Lance was 3rd.
This has always been a pet peeve of mine watching NFL. I want to see what y'all think about this. Why do you use a top 3 pick on someone who's going to play hardly any? I think they should.
Well,
at
Clack,
least
you have
Trey
to.
Lance.
You're developing him. You can't they're not just gonna go throw him out on the field and expect him. I think they understand. The Kansas City just scored against 29-0. I think they understand that he needs some time to develop. This isn't a guy that played at a Power 5 school. He's still very talented, but he played at North Dakota State, so you can't expect him to come in after playing for North Dakota State. And he took a year off, didn't he? He didn't play.
Yeah.
So
the last year he played one game.
Right.
Yeah, so they understand the talent's there with him, and we've seen flashes of it preseason and during the regular season. But they want to give him time to develop. They don't want to throw him out there.
I just don't think. Falcons fans will be the first to tell you that they're not fans of Kyle Shanahan. I'm really beginning to see why they're not fans of him. And I think the Kyle Shanahan game plan has run its course in the NFL right now. It's not going to work anymore. I think even when they go to Trey Lance next year, it's still going to be the same thing. It's kind of like Jim Harbaugh was with 49ers. He started off hot, went to a Super Bowl, should have won that Super Bowl. It's the same thing. Now Shanahan's doing the same thing. Started off hot, went to Super Bowl, and it's slowly starting to fade. It seems like a theme there in San Francisco.
Yeah,
okay.
So here's one thing I wanted to ask, right? Kind of food for thought. Do you think it would be better for Trey Lance's development to sit a year behind Jimmy G, or do you think it'd be better for him to be thrown out there like Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence and just getting killed every week because you're not good enough yet?
I think they're slightly better with
sit a year.
No, not at all.
What good is it for his confidence to throw him out there and have him suck?
What good is it to play under Jimmy G? Like, I don't think Jimmy G's the type of quarterback you want to develop under. Like,
I just told you, it's not even like a normal transition for an NFL quarterback where you played a year at college and then you play a year in the pros. He has he took an extra year off of football, so there's even more of a learning curve for him.
That's the only reason. Let's say if Trey Lance played, let's say that North Dakota State, because of the issues going on last year, let's say the FCS doesn't take off, doesn't change their season. Let's say the FCS plays, he plays every game and comes in at third. He has to start then. I think he should start anyway.
That's the problem with quarter. That's the right move to do. I mean, presumably you would. I mean, I'm not saying you don't play him the whole year. Like, if your team sucks, I think the right move is always to, about halfway through the year, evaluate the quarterback position and how the team's been playing, and then, make that call to put the guy out there. And then when you don't have much to play for the last couple games, then you see what he's about.
Yeah.
But it's not like the 49ers can do that right now because they are in trying to make the playoffs. So that's why this situation.
Joe, there's only one difference between Trey Lance and other quarterbacks is he played in an he plays in an FCS school. That's literally the only difference. Look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow started his first year, and now, look where Joe Burrow is at now. 2 years later, he's leading the Bengals to the playoff, and he's having a heck of a season. He started his first season. Same with Mac Jones. He started his first season, slowly going to develop.
Well, I'm just going to be honest with Mac Jones. I would have liked to see him, had a little bit more time to develop. I mean, he's done pretty well this year, but he's looked also very rough. Today, he did not play well, just couldn't get in a rhythm with his throws.
Well, that's also because of Josh McDaniels' play calling.
Well, yeah, that's part of it, and they don't have a lot of receivers,
right.
But I think Mac would have benefited a little bit as well from sitting behind somebody. But
I agree.
Obviously, that situation in New England, they didn't really have anyone else to help him out that much. But
one last thing I'll say about this too is I think I would be more in the Trey Lance camp if the 49ers were 4-12 right now or something. But they're 8-7 or they're 8-6.
They're trying to fight for a playoff spot.
Hunt. And who's got them there? It's Jimmy G. So, I mean,
for better, for worse.
The Chiefs, for example, when Patrick Mahomes came in, right? They were already pretty much out of the playoffs, I think. Or did they make the playoff? Either way, their playoff hunt was over when Patrick Mahomes came in. And I think that's kind of, then you're playing with house money at that point. Once you're in the playoffs or out of the playoffs, you can freely bring your guys. And then, it'll save Jimmy G for the playoffs. But I think that right now they're good enough team with him that why change it up, right? They had a loss. And I mean, Derrick Henry's not even there. Who, by the way, is still, I think, number 4 or 5 in the league in rushing yards after not playing since week 8. Which is super impressive. But, yeah. Oh, I like it. It has a backside. I didn't even realize it had a backside.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to try to think of a sick burn there, but I couldn't quick enough because I have a very smooth brain. So anyway, I think that's enough about the 49ers and the Titans. Let's talk about the Packers and the Browns. That happened on Saturday. I see the Tuesday games are kind of weird this week because
I loved it, but I love the Tuesday games, but it definitely has thrown me off.
Yeah, because the Rams already played today, and then the football team are playing later tonight. So I'm just gonna avoid those last games. We can talk about the games from this week. Mm-hmm. Sorry, the 2 Washington football team fans besides Joe.
There's not much for me to say about it anyways. You know how I feel.
Yeah. I just I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like the Packers every single week in and week out, whatever can work in their favor does. And I just don't get it. The Browns played awful. I'll say that. The Browns did not deserve to win. But you look at Baker Mayfield's last interception, his receiver is getting mugged all up and down the field right before he throws it to him, and then there's a no call and it leads to an interception.
What about the other 3 though?
The other three, well, he had another, I think, no call, but 2 of them were really bad. I will admit, 2 of them were bad. Like,
yeah, but you cannot leave the game in the refs' hands at all. I mean, I had a
No.
Twitter rant about this earlier. It just seems like these refs wake up in the morning and they walk around like they're like the baddest dudes on the block. And a lot of these games, the refs try to make their presence known early on, and it absolutely infuriates me, especially with the pass interference calls. Some of them are like, you have to call it. But a lot of the time, it's just these ticky-tacky pass interference, holding, like, calls. And I don't know how anybody can be an elite NFL cornerback in today's day and age, just because if you breathe on the guy, they're going to throw the flag. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but every time I sit and watch a game, I see a pass interference call, and I'm just like, how is that a pass interference?
Yeah. And, like, that's kind of how I've been this year, is like, I'm not even super mad about no calls that often this year, because it's just been so bad all around that I know, like, the refs will make up for it some way. Like, last week against the Bears, the refs were super on our side for some, like, there was that one play that epitomized it on 3rd down where our guy caught the ball and got hit, like, in the chest, and they called it roughing, like, unnecessary roughness. I was like,
I know you're talking
I
about.
hated that. But it's just, when it's, I know you can't put the game in the hands of the ref, right? Like, I know you should just play better, but also when that literally changed the outcome of the game potentially, because they also would have been in field goal range had they called, like, the hold there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's when you gotta, like, say something. But obviously, like, the NFL, like, self-policing is kind of a joke, right? Like, the Browns will get a letter in the mail saying, like, hey, sorry, we missed this call, and then that's about it. But I mean, I guess he's gonna move.
Also, with the Browns thing, one issue in that game besides the refs is just, and I've tweeted about this many times, the NFL play calling. The Packers were up by a good bit, and they just decided to take their foot off the gas, only call running plays, play conservative ball, and that's what the NFL is. All the play calling is, you're almost at a disadvantage if you build a big lead. I mean, the Chiefs are up 30-0. They're not going to blow that lead. But if you're up by a touchdown and a field goal or a couple touchdowns, you're almost at a disadvantage, because your head coach is going to look over to your offensive coordinator and be like, well, let's play risk management. Let's not turn the ball over. Let's just run it. And that's what happened in that game with the Packers. And also, the Packers defense is just not great. Part of it is injuries. Also, part of it is Joe Barry, not a great defensive coordinator. I know personally because he was a defensive coordinator for my Washington football team, Washington Redskins at the time, and he's just not a great DC. And you kind of saw it in the Ravens game how they let the Ravens back in, and they were up by a decent bit in that game. So it's just it's frustrating to see conservative play calling. I kind of understand it. But if your offense is in a good rhythm and just putting up points, and then you decide to be conservative, it's very hard to get that offense going again once it's cooled off.
Yeah. One thing I will give a shout out, Devondre Campbell, and then who's the corner that they signed?
Rasul Douglas.
Rasul Douglas. Both of them have been godsends for the Packers. Those two are probably the difference between like 5 or 6 wins for the Packers.
Yeah, Rasul Douglas was not good on the Eagles either. So
yeah,
props to him for turning his career around.
Because he had the game-winning interception against Arizona, and he had 2 interceptions against Baker this last week. And that's a perfect transition. What happened to Arizona? They lost another game. I think this is
the Arizona Fraudnals.
Yeah. Man, losing to them at the beginning of the season, we lost by 3 to them, and it was like, wow, this is a good loss. This is a quality loss. Like
loss.
I don't think it's a Q1 loss anymore. Like I think it's dropping, because they lost again to the Colts 16-22. And I do want to say Carson Wentz, he's been looking pretty good. He's been better. I think the answer is the question, right, for Carson Wentz was like, is he a good quarterback? Is he bad? I think he's, he's okay. But that's perfectly acceptable. That's what the Colts need, especially when they have Jonathan Taylor.
He does what they need him to do. You know, he's not going to be asked to throw the ball 40 times a game. And if he is asked to do that, it means you're down and you're in trouble. But like he talked about, you know, they just lean on Jonathan Taylor. And because Jonathan Taylor is so dominant in the running game, it opens up a lot of options for them in the passing game because, you know, defenses are keying on him because he's just been unstoppable all year.
Yeah. So who's your guys' MVP right now? If you had to pick, like on the spot.
Jonathan Taylor.
Okay,
yeah,
why?
I mean, Jonathan Taylor as well.
Defend yourself.
He's been dominant.
He's the only reason. He's the only. I mean, yeah, Carson Wentz has been okay. I mean, he hasn't been nothing great. I mean, Jonathan Taylor and that Colts offensive line is the only reason the Colts are fixing to make the playoffs and probably pull an upset somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, they've already pulled a couple upsets.
He carries that team.
I agree.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
and
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Carson Wentz can't win him a game, but Jonathan Taylor can and will.
And has. Yeah.
And has.
I would say just because of the MVP being a QB league, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Brady or Rodgers. For the record, Taylor is my MVP as well right now. I think that, like you said, he's the most valuable. We need to get back to the roots of the MVP award, right? It needs to be the most valuable player to their team on like a good team. Obviously, you don't want to have like the most valuable player on the Jaguars winning MVP, but
I don't even know who that would be.
I don't know. I tried to think of it real quick, and it's not really anyone. Like Josh Allen, maybe. Miles Jack. Anyway, but I think that like Aaron Rodgers, right? Devontae Adams is amazing. So, and Aaron Rodgers is incredible, but he has the Devontae Adams helping him. Like Tom Brady, he's incredible. He has 3 Pro Bowl wide receivers on his roster. Jonathan Taylor has a good O-line, but like he does so much for the team. Like you guys said, I just completely agree that he's my pick.
I mean, Rodgers does have a good story though. Like he's playing with a broken toe. This was presumed to be his last year in Green Bay. They're one of the best teams in the league. If they win a Super Bowl, it's going to be very tough. I think for him to just flat out leave along with Devontae Adams. So that's a interesting side story. But I think if I had to bet on someone to win, I would definitely think it's Taylor, unless he just completely falls off. But even then, like,
yeah,
I think it'll be him. But I would be fine if it was Rodgers, and I could understand. But it should, and I think will be Jonathan Taylor.
Could you imagine the fallout of a guy winning back-to-back MVPs and a Super Bowl and then leaving his team? Like,
if anybody's gonna do it, it'd be Aaron Rodgers. Let's be real with ourselves.
Yeah, and then I think with that game, the Colts officially made the playoffs, and so the Eagles now have 3 first-round picks officially on the year, which is pretty impressive. I wonder what they're gonna do with them.
I want to kind of add on that. Do you think they'll draft a quarterback? Because I don't think they will. Jalen Hurts played well for them, well enough that
he's a Pro Bowl backup. He's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I would have never thought that he would be as good as he's been this year for them. He's definitely shown some times where he's been kind of off, but much like any other NFL quarterback, that's going to happen. But I mean, they benefit because usually when you're a team that has that many picks. In the first round, one of those picks is going to be, I don't want to say wasted, but used on a quarterback. But for the Eagles, now they can say, hey, we got Jalen Hurts. He's been solid for us. We don't have to worry about the quarterback position. We can go out and get, insert this person, like probably some defensive guys because their defense has been good, but hasn't been great. I mean, they could probably maybe use another receiver, but with taking Devontae and Jalen Reagor 2 years in a row, I doubt they're going to take another receiver, maybe offensive line. But yeah, they definitely benefit a lot by not having to take one of those picks and use it on a quarterback.
Yeah. For the whole he's a Pro Bowl backup argument, though, I will say so was Mitch Trubisky his rookie year. So I don't think that says too much. It's
the Bama sign for Jalen.
Yes, the Bama sign for Jalen, where legends are made. Even though some people try to claim he's an Oklahoma quarterback. I will say though, like he kind of, this may be a little blasphemy, especially because they're in the same division. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Daniel Jones. Obviously, he's been playing really well this year, and he's had his ups and downs. But I just mean that he's played well enough that they're not going to need a quarterback this year. But I still think he's like on kind of a thin leash, where if he starts to slip, they'll definitely look at quarterbacks. Especially next year's class is supposed to be a lot better than this year. So
yeah, well, yeah, and I agree with you. If he doesn't do that well next year, there's a better crop of guys from pick from. This year is a down year, so why would they, go out of the way and reach for somebody who maybe might not be all that great when they can just build the rest of their team aside from the quarterback? I think that's what they'll do.
And hey, real quick before we move on to our next one, we're about halfway through the show, so it's time for a message from our partner, Super Draft Pro.
Hey, it's Jacqueline from the CTS Sports Room, coming to you from my car. Because it's Christmas time, and my house is full of people, and I told them I was going grocery shopping, but really, I just needed a break. So I downloaded this new app that we just partnered with. It's Super Draft Pro. It is the future of fantasy sports. And you can play for cash, prizes, and experiences that money can't buy. Like the peace and quiet I'm getting right now. You can play for free, or you can get their non-gambling subscription. Either way, you can still win cash and prizes. If you want more information, my friend Kyle Murray is going to tell you about it.
It's not easy being the fastest quarterback you've never seen. I'll be right back. There's no quicker way to get into DFS. Play Super Draft today and see for yourself.
Super Draft Pro and Caesars Entertainment are bringing you the future of fantasy sports. So, if you want to play like a champion or need a break from the family, download Super Draft Pro today. Play like a champion. Information will be in the link below.
Man, I get so excited. I don't know how you guys feel every time I see that. The fact that we're partnered up with Super Draft Pro, man, so exciting.
Yeah, so thank you to our partners, Super Draft Pro. You can check out the link. It's a lot of fun. You can completely free. You can earn a lot of money, giving away lots of money and prizes. So you can go play on the link. It's on the screen, Super Draft Pro, or if you're on YouTube, it's in the video description. So thank you so much for partnering with us, and you should go check it out. So after that, let's talk about the Ravens and the Bengals. I kind of mentioned it earlier. Joey Burrow, had 525 yards and 4 touchdowns today against the third string Josh Johnson from the Ravens. And I feel bad. Poor guy never had a chance. Played well.
The thing about the Ravens offense is it's designed to have like an athletic quarterback run it. So, I mean, I'm looking at the stats right now because I didn't get to watch too much of the game. But Johnson was 28 for 40, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a pick, but I mean, those aren't awful numbers. The quarterback is not the problem. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson, but we saw last week with Tyler Huntley, he went off, had like 5 touchdowns, something ridiculous. Quarterback's not the problem for them. It's just the defense and the injuries that they've had along that defense have been what's caused them to just struggle. I mean, they had a better record, one of the better records in the league, and now they're sitting at 8-7 after just getting torched by Joe Burrow.
Them and the Saints. Every year there's like 2-ish teams that just have the injury bug that lead to a good team being a lot worse than they should be. Them and the Saints this year, in my mind. Last year it was the Chargers and the 49ers, but where no one could seem to stay healthy, but they're on like their 4th or 5th string cornerback. Mm-hmm. So I feel bad for the Ravens, but I am excited for the Bengals. My dad, shout out my dad, he's a Bengals fan, has been for a long time now, and
they're a likable team.
Yeah. And Jamar Chase was like kind of taking he's slowed down a little bit, but that's just opened up all the other receivers because they're double, triple teaming Jamar Chase. So, I mean, what do you guys think about that pick in retrospect? Do you think Jamar Chase was the move, or do you still wish they would have taken like a lineman or something? Or
That
I
definitely
think
was a move.
at the time I questioned it, but reuniting those two and the chemistry they have is something that's hard to pass on, and I see why Cincinnati took Jamar Chase because he's been such a huge part of their offense this year. Like you talked about, he's opened the offense up for guys like T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd to have success. So, like I said, they're an easy team to root for. They're a young team, and they're having this much success this early on in their career. The young guys are with Zach Taylor as their coach. This is a team that could be taking the division the next couple of years. Their defense has stepped up to a lot. That was a big question mark for them. Their defense was horrendous last year. Eli Apple, who continuously gets roasted on Twitter, has been playing really well for them. He's bounced around the league, been drafted first round by the Giants, struggled, went to the Saints for a little bit. He's been playing well. They're just a very well-rounded team. Joe Mixon, running back, has been huge for them. So they're a lot of fun to watch, and I'm kind of rooting for them a little bit because they're one of those newcomer teams that wasn't expected to do too much this year in their own division.
you said you like the pick, Clack, in retrospect?
Yeah, definitely a good pick. I mean, especially the Joe Burrow connection. That was really good for them, and it's obviously played out. I think there's just when you're playing with a quarterback you play with in college, there's always a special connection. And I think that's really helped them out a lot. And I think in retrospect, they needed a receiver more than they needed anything else, especially losing. Did they lose AJ Green?
Yeah, he went to the Cardinals.
Yeah, he's on the Cardinals.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Especially losing someone like AJ Green. You needed another receiver, and he's done a great job of that. I think that was the best pick they could have made. I think the Bengals have been probably one of the best teams with the draft lately, getting Burrow and Jamar Chase. So, yeah, definitely a good decision for them.
Yeah, Burrow was such a hard pick. I don't know. It's weird. I never thought I'd say the Bengals wide receiver room got better after losing AJ Green, but yet here we are. So that actually kind of is a perfect segue. One other pick I wanted to talk about, or I guess lack of pick I wanted to talk about. Panthers got blown out 6-32 today. Sam Darnold and Cam Newton both had awful games. So you guys think they messed up not taking Justin Fields, who they reportedly were like pretty high on? Or
no, I think they messed up hiring Matt Rule and Joe Brady. I think that's not something you would have known then, but
yeah.
Well,
the Joe Brady experiment already failed.
Well, yeah, and I think their problem was not what they drafted. Their problem was who they hired. I mean, I think that Sam Darnold could have developed well if he had had the correct coaching, but yeah, I think their problem was more who they hired, not who they drafted. But yes, I do think they should have taken Justin Fields, yes, but I don't think that's their problem at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think hindsight's 2020. I mean, at the time, we were like, okay, they just traded for Sam Darnold. They have some other needs. They had a need at corner that they filled with J.C. Horn, who was playing well, had a season-ending injury. But I definitely think this year they're gonna get a quarterback because they're not gonna re-sign Cam. Like, he'll be done, and I'm not sure what they'll do with Darnold. They'll probably keep him, and whoever they draft as a rookie quarterback, won't play right away like we talked about earlier. So I can, off the top of my head, wouldn't be surprised if they took like Kenny Pickett or something from Pitt. But I also agree with Clack. I'm not a huge fan of Matt Rule as a coach at the NFL level, just based off of, success that he had at Temple and Baylor. It's hard to make that jump as somebody who hasn't really had a lot of success at the college level overall.
Man, I remember like when Joe Brady was coming to the NFL, I was like, "Ooh, he's going to be a great head coach. Like maybe if Mike Zimmer steps down, we can get Joe Brady." And I was real wrong there. That's why I'm still sitting here doing live shows instead of being the GM for a team hiring coaches, because I would have thought Joe Brady was a great would have been great. He looked so good. But I guess, when you have a whole team of NFL talent, it's pretty easy to look good against a bunch of not so great teams.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. But also want to congratulate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their first division title since 2007, which is kind of wild because they won the Super Bowl last year, but they were obviously a wild card team because the Saints are still pretty good last year. Did you guys see the thing about Drew Brees? Like, they texted him and were like, hey, do you want to come out of retirement and play? And apparently he just responded with a picture of him golfing.
I did see that.
Oh my gosh.
It's a power move. But
I mean, he's also carved out a nice spot as a broadcaster for NBC. So, I mean, I think he's doing just well for himself, or just fine for himself. There's no point for him to make his life more complicated by going to play for the Saints again. He had a nice career for them, and he's, got some good things going for him now. So I respect the fact that he didn't just go, oh, let me suit up again and play like, some of these other guys probably would do. But
yeah. Well, and like some people are probably sad to hear it, but he has nothing to gain by like going back and
exactly.
He wasn't that good as last year.
Yeah. He wasn't that great last year. He already is the second or third best quarterback of all time, depending on how you view Peyton Manning. And
fourth.
You think he's fourth best of it?
Yeah.
Who got above him?
Oh gosh. Well, Manning and Brady for sure, and then trying to think.
You an old head? You're gonna put Dan Marino or Joe Montana? Or
I'm thinking Joe Montana.
Johnny Unitas.
I'm okay with that list.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
Oh hell.
Oh, you want to talk, Joe? You know what? I'm not gonna go there.
No. You already started it. You have to go there.
What about Brett Favre? Where does he rank?
I think lower than Aaron Rodgers, who just passed
higher.
him on.
I would put Aaron Rodgers over Drew Brees.
That's a little spicy, I think.
I
agree with Clack.
You think
Aaron
so? Aaron Rodgers above Drew Brees.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers has had. I mean, Aaron. Hang on.
Aaron.
I'll get it in a minute. I mean, Brees has played himself out of so much, especially the Saints. I mean, not that Sean Payton is a very cocky play caller and plays him out of so many Super Bowls or whatever, or out of the playoffs so much, but I just think in the end that, like, if you give me prime Brees or prime Rodgers to go on a drive to win the Super Bowl, I'm taking Rodgers.
Okay.
I agree with that, actually. I'm not going to lie.
I just think, like, Aaron Rodgers is obviously up there, but I think Brees did it for a little bit longer, which is super impressive. And obviously he has like the Counton stats on his side right now. I think that when it's all said and done, if Aaron Rodgers is really good for another 3 or 4 more years, I'll accept that. But I don't know. It's just so hard in my mind to put the guy who's battling for most touchdowns of all time with Tom Brady as of last year, like potentially 6th or 7th on your list of greatest quarterbacks. I think that's.
Well, if the Packers win a Super Bowl this year and Aaron Rodgers continues to do what he's doing, also makes the conversation a lot more interesting. Yeah. I mean, statistic-wise, Drew Brees, has a lot of the numbers and a lot of records, but I agree with Clack. If I had to pick a quarterback to go win me a game, I would pick Aaron Rodgers. He's just a better quarterback. But you're kind of nitpicking. I mean, that list. Aside from Brady, who's number 1, and Manning at 2, it gets real interesting filling out the rest of that, top 5 or top 10. You're kind of splitting hairs.
Yeah, you kind of have to nitpick at that point. Clack, also, I think your mic is muted or something because I see your mouth moving and not a lot of sounds coming out.
Okay.
Get it together, guy.
So, I have another hot take I want to throw out there.
Hell. Keep your mic muted. Never mind.
No. Y'all
go back.
Peyton, I would take Peyton Manning number 2 over any quarterback. But if I need a quarterback for a game-winning drive, give me Rodgers over Brady or Rodgers over Manning.
Oh,
Rodgers over Manning to win a game for me. I think
I'd put Rodgers number 1. I'd put Rodgers over Brady.
I'd put it number 2. If you're Tom Brady, you're gonna go back to the first game of the year. Tom Brady, if Tom Brady's on a game-winning drive, he's gonna get all the calls. He's gonna get everything. It's Tom Brady.
You forgot the ref factor, Joe. But you're saying that Aaron
yeah.
Rodgers doesn't. Literally, the roughing the passer rules are what they are
True.
today because he complained after he got
All
tackled
right. What?
with his collarbone.
You're not wrong. You're both right. But I mean, nobody throws a Hail Mary better than Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, that's as much as it pains me to admit it, especially
No
with
one
the
has to
sweater
throw a
I'm
Hail
wearing.
Mary as much as Aaron Rodgers.
No, but as much as it pains me with the sweater I'm wearing. I think I kind of agree with Tom Brady as well, but Aaron Rodgers has gotten the ball back with 15 seconds and still been that's too much time. I don't think I've ever seen that. Now I will say that's just on game-winning drives, and if you got Tom Brady on your team, you're going to need a lot less of those because you're already going to be winning. But I kind of agree. I think I might also take Rodgers for one game-winning drive to win the Super Bowl, just because I've seen it happen several times this year. The guy, gets the ball with 20 seconds to go, and then gets them in field goal range, and they win. Actually, we're talking a lot about Drew Brees. Before we talk about tonight's big Sunday night matchup, the marquee matchup of tonight between the football team and the Cowboys. Cooper Kupp played against the Vikings today, had another 10 catches, so he's at 132 on the season. He has 2 games left, and the record is 149, set by Michael Thomas. He has a shot. He's averaging 10 catches a game. I think there's a very real chance that he could get the record, which would be kind of cool. I don't know.
We'll see. Michael Thomas, we talked about this last week. I think Michael Thomas is overrated. So it's not that breaking one of his records doesn't mean that much. I'm sorry.
Jeez, Clack, that's pretty harsh.
Michael Thomas is a slant boy, as they call him. He's only good because Noodle Arm could only throw it 5 yards down the field. Sorry,
That's
Cruz.
fair.
I hope Cruz hears this.
I don't think he'll be watching, but I think that's harsh, but understandable. No, I do think the breaking the record, even though the record's held by Michael Thomas, is still very impressive, and he's been amazing this year. He's on an absolute tear that I didn't expect. I'm sure no one else really expected it either.
I don't know. He kind of it's very much impressed me. I think how Matt Stafford took him from a pretty good receiver to have an argument for being the best receiver in the league this year. I think Devontae Adams might still beat him out this year. I'm just talking about this year, not overall, but Cooper Kupp's super impressive. But I will say it was infuriating watching him today because they did the typical white wide receiver thing when they're talking about him, where the dude's leading the league in catches and yards and stuff, but they're still yeah, he just works harder than everyone else out there. He's real scrappy. And I'm
first one in, last one out.
Yeah. Come on, man. Get some new material. I don't know.
It's so funny. They continue to do that.
Every time. It's every time. And it's actually just, you got to laugh at this point.
Another turnover from Big Ben.
What's the score right now? Is it still
33-3? It's fixing to be 40-3.
Yeah. I know someone said earlier that he can't hit the broadside of a barn tonight.
Dude, if they get a throwing touchdown, I'm going to be so pissed. I'm playing against Mahomes in fantasy. He's got 22 points. It would just be just like Andy Reid to decide they're going to throw the ball here. And they really just don't even need to.
Hey, you hate conservative play calling. This is kind of your own doing. This is your fault, Joe.
All right, well, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
They're up by a lot. They don't need to. They just need to run the clock out. So they need to do.
Yeah, just play conservative. Oh, man. So another wide receiver milestone, too, that I did want to talk about real quick. Justin Jefferson set the record for most yards 2 seasons. He's the little shining ray of hope for fans right now in a sea of mediocrity. But it's just I have a little bit of bad memories when it comes to good young receiver stars. So I sure hope that our new coach treats him nice and gets in the ball and stuff, because I don't want another Stephon Diggs 2.0. because I've been burnt before. My favorite player has already forced his way off the team once because we wanted to run the ball too much.
Well, it really depends on what they do with Mike Zimmer. I mean, hopefully they
He's gone.
fire him. That offense could literally set records if he wasn't the coach. Like, you're talking about the Rams doing all this crazy stuff. Like, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. I mean, they have all the pieces in place to be scoring a bunch of points a game, but Mike Zimmer is so old school and just refuses to do anything but run the ball on first and second and then throw it on third, which is so predictable that it handicaps the offense a lot. And Justin Jefferson's been amazing in his first 2 seasons, but I can't imagine what he would do with a competent play calling offensive coordinator and head coach.
That's another thing too, is Mike Zimmer's like a defensive genius. And I will say, like, he kind of changed the way modern defenses work. Like the double A gap blitz, that was his baby when you line up like 2 linebackers over the center. That was him. But
like 50 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like, his defense should not be this bad either. We've given up like over 100, close to 100 points in the last 2 minutes of halves this year, which is just god awful. And it's because if you watch it every time, the other team needs 3 yards for a first down, he has his corner stand 6 yards off. Literally every single time, it's just a stick route. Like, they run to the sticks, turn around, and get a first down. And it's the same thing that you're talking about with like conservative play calling, but like in reverse, it's conservative defensive play calling. Like, oh, we'll make them take a long time to get to the end zone. That's okay. Like, no, dude, you're still getting up 7 points. Play with some passion. Like, have your guys play press. That's why we lost to the freaking Detroit Lions, because they were playing off down the entire field, and they let Jared freaking Goff march down the field, who, you know, I've made it known how I view Jared Goff as a quarterback. I don't think he's that great. I don't know.
Yeah.
But one last thing tonight, you know, we're getting close to having to call it for tonight, but we do have our Sunday night matchup, as we like to do. We want to preview the Sunday night football game between the Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys. And Joe, you're the resident Washington football team fan. I will actually let you take this one because you know a lot more than I do about them.
I'll say this. I don't think Washington has any real shot at winning this game. Taylor Heineke, when he has to face good defenses, is not really all that great. He does okay against bad defenses, but the Cowboys have one of the best defenses in the league. Last time we played Dallas at home, we were down 24-0, but conservative play calling brought us back into the game, and we only lost 27-20. I don't think that will be the case tonight. When we played them a couple weeks ago, their offense wasn't clicking all that well, and their defense kind of saved them. But I think tonight their defense will be clicking at home, and their offense will continue to do what we've seen it done all year with Dak, Zeke, Amari, and CeeDee Lamb. So also Washington will be without Landon Collins due to an illness. They'll be without a couple other players. They did get some guys back from that game against the Eagles that were on the illness list, but I just don't think they have the firepower to pull off an upset. Dallas is a very good team, even though they've been struggling recently.
All right, and Clack, I have a question for you. Since Joe got to talk about his beloved football team, I want to ask you about the Dallas Cowboys. Do you think that they're a real contender, in your opinion?
Well, first of all, I would like to add, because I'm in Dallas for the playoffs, I will actually be at that game tonight. So hoping for a fun game. But to answer your question, I don't think they are. I think they'll get exposed if they play the Packers or the Bucks in the playoffs. I think I think they're a good team, but I think they've got a lot of issues. They're hit or miss on both sides of the ball, if we're being honest. I mean, they lost to the Chargers. They were blown out by the Broncos. Or they did not lose to the Chargers. They did lose to the Chargers. I'm sorry, I cannot remember how the game against the Chargers was a close game. They were blown out by the Broncos. They're either very hot or very cold. I just don't see them having it in the playoffs, because you're not going to win the NFC without going through Green Bay or Tampa. I don't think they can do that. I don't think they're a contender right now. I think they're benefits of a very weak division. and I think they're going to get exposed when the playoffs get here. I do think Dak has been. I mean, coming off of that injury, Dak has been great, but I just don't think it's going to last. I would shout out to Trayvon Diggs for the season he's had, though. I mean, good grief.
Yeah, 10 picks, and then you've got Micah Parsons, who's got 10 sacks. So,
Yeah.
But in the end, I don't think the defense is enough. I think the offense is just not. I don't think that offense can get it done. Mike McCarthy is not the guy I would want running my offense. And I just don't see them having. I think when the Bucs get fully healthy, the Packers are going to be fully healthy. They're not gonna get past them.
Like, I completely agree, actually. And here, I'm just gonna read you a seemingly random list of team names real quick. So you got the Chargers, you got the Eagles, you got the Panthers, the Giants, the Patriots, and then you have the Vikings, Falcons, Saints, and Washington football team. What do these teams have in common, you ask? Well, those are the teams that Dallas beat this year. I count like 1.5 good teams on that list. I really do. I say like the Saints have a good defense and the Patriots are a good team.
And the
Every
Chargers
other team they beat. Oh yeah, the Chargers obviously. They've been up and down though.
they lost the
But-
Texans today.
Yeah. But like it hasn't impressed me at all. One thing I will say too is that said the NFC goes through the Packers, but it's just every year for the last like 4 years they've been the exact same. They do really well in the regular season, and then they play in the playoffs, and then like they get a couple things to not go their way, and then they lose. And
Can I close this out with a bold prediction?
yes, please do.
A very bold prediction.
Please do.
This could change. This could change with matchups or what happens. The Rams beat the Packers in the NFC Championship in Lambeau.
It's not that. I don't really think that's all that bold.
I've been high on the Rams all year. That defense is starting to come along. They're starting to wake up.
The problem with the Rams, though, is the offensive line. Their offensive line is not good, and I don't. And the Packers' defensive line has been solid this year.
I don't think it's going to matter. I think in the end, Aaron Rodgers always chokes in the playoffs. It never fails. He's going to go up against that Rams defensive line.
Yeah, because Matt Stafford's been real good in the playoffs too.
Okay, I'm just saying, like he's going to throw one pick. Aaron Donald, Von Miller's going to force a pick to Jalen Ramsey. It's going to be like a 14-13, 14-10 type of game, and the Rams are going to make the Super Bowl.
I disagree, but
I've been high on them all year, and I'm not changing.
My personal rankings for NFC teams I'd be scared of in the playoffs goes Bucks, Rams, then the Packers, and then maybe the Cardinals, honestly, above the Cowboys if they can get back to form. That's a big if. It depends on how they look going in like the last 2 weeks. If they can right the ship a little bit, then I'm picking the Cardinals over them. If they go in on like a 5-game slide, okay, then they're like I'm not scared of them at all.
Mm-hmm.
But,
I would take Dallas over the Cardinals though.
okay.
Depends on what Dallas you get.
Before we go, do you guys have anything else you want to say?
That's it. Hoping for a good game tonight.
Yeah.
So am I.
I guess that's it for us. The CTS will actually be back to its regular schedule next week. You'll see us back here next Sunday. Then January 4th, you'll see Stingray, Clemson Tom, and the other guy. Then January 6th, you get the brand new episode of Rolling with the Tide, my first appearance actually on the show with Joey. And we'll be breaking down how Alabama beat Cincinnati. We're going to manifest it here.
Previewing the national championship.
We also have a new podcast with Jacqueline, Super Draft Pro, and other exciting new things happening with us. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Tyler Shibish. These are my co-hosts. It's Joe Will and the one and only Clacker. So thanks for joining us. And Clacker. I always want to say Clacker.
Me too. I just recently figured that out. I feel stupid as shit for it, but
yeah, I had you spelt wrong on my phone for the longest time.
Oh wow!
But thank you guys so much for joining us, and
Thank
we will
you.
see you here next Sunday.